enough planning, enough thinking. This is the moment when I ship this new project called Rudra KY, and this is the beginning of me coming back into a streak on which I am able to focus and to develop a consistent practice of programming. Since my daughter was born, it had been hard for me to get into that state of being consistent and document that consistency, because after those 2 months that I took for 40 days that I took for my girl after she was born, I kept programming, I kept working, but not in a consistent way on which I was documenting what I was doing. And now with this project I came back to that, and I committed every day in the GitHub repo, and I worked every day. I started recording my working sessions with Loom, that is a fantastic software. So that has been a major turn into the way that I approach the open source factory, because I have been able to devote the daily work that I know I need in order to make the progress that I want to make. And that has been something that I want to celebrate. That is something that I want to celebrate in this moment. That's why I put these emojis on the like next to my face. Yeah, it has been interesting to go back to that state. And I started working in this project following a tutorial not following a tutorial for the project itself, but on the side I was doing some courses, a course in Zero to Mastery Academy, and that course was of Next.js. So I was like bringing the tools that I was getting in that course to this project and working side by side. And there was a moment where I realized that I was not happy with the way that I was working, because I felt that I was wasting a lot of time trying to code along with that person instead of building whatever came out from my mind and researching about it. And it feels sometimes that I am running in circles and that I'm not making progress, because I'm just looking at what I have in front and like building from my own brain and not bringing ideas from the outside. And that is something that is challenging to overcome. But on the other side, I'm building another muscle, that is the one of creativity, of finding my way, of understanding better how system works. And like, for example, the React Context API, I went through it like 3 days so that I could like properly understand how it works, what it does, and what to do about it. Because one of the biggest challenges that I had with this project was and I haven't solved it yet really, but it's something that is important when, for example, in this project there is a Kriyas part where people upload their Kriyas that are a set of the Kriyas are like the main thing in Kundalini Yoga. It's like a practice that you do that has like an order of exercise, and this project is all about that. And when people upload their Kriyas, then you can go into the Kriyas page and see a list of them, and then click on one of them and go to that particular page of that one. And the problem that I have now is that I fetch all the database from Kriyas and I get them all, and then I go to a particular one and I have to fetch that one again, the information again. So I have not been able to understand how to get like that package of Kriyas from the database, and from those take the next one for the route, so that I don't have to fetch again in this one, in the particular page. And that is something that I have not understood how to do, and I spent a lot of time in it. And the context API was me trying to understand it. That was a solution for what I was trying to do. And on the end I decided that it wasn't, because anytime that you upload element from the context, everything from the, like everything that is wrapped in that context also is updated in the page, and that creates inefficiencies for the system. And I don't know if those inefficiencies are like worse than the ones of fetching again the data, but I didn't want to like get them inside the context API. Maybe now that I'm saying it, it would have been better to do it, but I did not do it. And just in this project I fetch again with the get server side props next.js function, and with that I consistently fetch the database for the information, and that creates like I can show it here. It creates this. Here I have the project running. So there is the CRIAs page, and here you go to this, and there is like this updating of the thing, you know, here every time the is fetched. So in the ideal world it would have been like this is fetched and it's saved somewhere in the browser, cached probably, and then from there you go inside here, and here you add a new comment, and then with that comment it's thank you, gracias Carmen, JP, add comment, and then you go back and it's updated, but in the cache, in the information that is already downloaded. But I was not able to do that. It was hard for me to understand how to do it. I was not able, and it's okay. So this is the page. It's very simple right now, but I went through a lot of concepts that have been important for me to understand. For example, here when you add a new kriya, there is like this information in the side that you can this is the name of the kriya, the author, the like description, and then adding a new exercise for the whole class. So this program, this app is for creating a Kundalini Yoga class. So this is the structure of the class. There is 6 parts. So they are here. And for example, if you add a new exercise, that could be estiramiento, for example, and it lasts for 300 seconds, and here you describe it, tough exercise. I mean, it would be better to make a proper description about it, but I won't do it now. So you add it and it's here, and you can realize that the kriya section needs to go together, so you can drag and drop it here. And that is one of the tools that I added for this project, is the React beautiful D&D package, which adds this nice drag and drop functionality. And yeah, that was a learning for itself, because I realized that when you add a new package, there is a lot of complexity that is added to the web page, and maybe it's not necessary, because today I came to my last session with this project, I'm happy, I will do it, like organize stuff to make it cleaner, make it more beautiful, whatever. I know that the design of the app is not good, but I'm working on my design skills. I mean, I want to learn more about design. And yeah, it was interesting to today want to do that, and coming here and realizing that in my local environment, because this is the production page, but in my local environment this drag and drop didn't work, and I spent this whole session trying to make it work so that I could work on other things, but it was broken. So the app was broken, and that was because I brought a lot of complexity through this package that I was not able to solve because it's not easy to use. When I implemented it, it was not easy. I followed tutorials and stuff, and it was not easy. But yeah, so here you can delete and you can add the kriya here. and then you can edit it and it's the same. So you can erase this salud al sol, for example. So I will put a 2 here, so it's like identifiable. And then you go to Crillas and yeah, see? So when you edit the Grilla, it didn't update the name, and that is interesting. Maybe neither the author, no. See? So there is a bug that I have just realized. Interesting enough. Yeah, it's part of it. So I'm working with Next.js in this project because I have realized that it's a framework that is used a lot in the industry right now. React is something that is present everywhere, and Next.js is a framework that is built on top of React. So I decided to work with Next.js and using MongoDB as the database where I store the information, and it has been good to learn more about this framework. Overall, with this project, I feel motivated because I was able to come back to the practice, to come back to the discipline, and it's not like the best project ever, but there is a lot of lessons that I have brought from here that will be valuable for my future, and that is what I take out of this process, like how those tools will teach me different stuff. As I say that, I say, okay, but what did it teach me? And for example, one of the things is the framework, the package thing that I spoke before, that you add a lot of complexity when you add packages and dependencies and interdependency, because then you need to update them, and then some of them are not maintained, so it's a problem. And that is something that is important to have in mind, so that you don't so that your app is resilient in the long term. And that is something really important. Like the first app that I built was completely built with JavaScript, HTML and CSS, and that makes it very, very, very resilient, because there is like no possibility that JavaScript is going to go away, and there is nothing to maintain there, so it's very resilient. And the moment that you start adding layers of complexity, it gets quite challenging on that resiliency part. So it's important to have in mind that trade-off between ease of building and functionality, and then maintainability. And that is something that I learned with this project. I also learned that the styling is a very important part, and I need to find a way of styling my projects which I feel comfortable with and that makes sense, and it's very used in the industry. And right now I have been using like modules. So here is, like, for example, the active Kriya display component, and it imports this module, and here is the CSS for this particular component. And I have been using that as the way of styling my components, but I have seen that it's not a very common practice in the industry, and I will, on the next project, I will start with Tailwind CSS so that I can learn how to use it, because I have seen that that is something that is very used in the industry, and I want to learn it. So it will be a nice challenge to learn how to use it and to properly implement it. And about the project, another thing that was important was working with the APIs. So there is always this REST pattern that is being used, and which brings the information to MongoDB and gets it from there and updates the database. And this is something also important to learn how to work with the REST APIs. And there were a few challenges with this. I remember one day that I was working like almost all the session in this bug, and at the end was because I did not put the like here when I was adding the component Kriya preview, I think. No, I don't remember. Kriya display maybe. Yeah. New exercise. Yeah, I don't find here. So here fetch for like adding a new recording, and I did not put this part, so I was not like fetching to the API route, and that made like a bug that I did not see, and it was so easy to find, but I spent a lot of time in that. So it's important to see where the API routes point to and how they deal with the information, and how I transfer the information from one place to another one, and how I deal with it. And it was interesting to build these APIs inside the project and work with them. And there is these users here because part of the project was like having users. I worked with Discord and I built a Discord server, so there was a community part of the project, and then I raised it because my classmates from the place where I'm learning about Kundalini Yoga did not use it a lot, and I thought it was like overkill to have it. But there was like this users part because I had in mind to have a dashboard. And yeah, now that I'm talking about this, I realize the importance of like setting the goals at the beginning so that I can assess if I was able to like realize those goals or not, because right now I just worked in this every day without too much guidance, and that made it that makes me now not be able to say, okay, this was something that I wanted to work with, this was something that I wanted in this project, and I was not able to create it, I was not able to put it on it. And that is important in this whole learning process. So probably for next project I will create all these challenges or all these requirements, so that afterwards when I'm recording this video in one more month, I'm able to say, okay, this happened, this didn't happen, and that will be important. So that is something to have in mind. And yeah, I feel good with this. I continue my compromise of getting better at development. I know that it's not a perfect project, but I have realized that each one of these projects of the open source factory has a spirit behind it, and I have like distilled that spirit into one word. For example, for human music, that is the first project that I created, the word that I came out is rhythm. Then drip work is all about focus. The open source factory is about legacy. That is what I came out up. Mamíferas is about motherhood. Timeless integration is about connection. Hola Mila is about Mila, my daughter. 6 and 7 are projects that I'm going to create next year. Birtherator is about I would say change. Health. Yeah, health. Failed project is about something that I will find out in the future, because that project was about logging routine, or not routine, but habits. So for example, the days that I do intermittent fasting, or not, it was more about like, okay, this is the moment where I went to shit, this is the moment where I went to sleep, so that I could be able to do that. And that was all about evolution. Rudra Ki is about Kundalini, and the Infinite Jest is about depression. And the two ones that come now, surprise. But this whole world that I have built for myself here has a lot behind it, and it's important for me to honor that and realize that here there is something that determines what I see in the world, what I want to bring to the world, and what is important for me. So this project that I'm shipping today is important for me because Kundalini Yoga has been the means by which I have enhanced my perception of reality. It has been the means by which I have been able to evolve. I have been able to establish a practice that has brought me to an understanding of what I'm capable of, and it's a very important tool. It's a very timeless tool that I want to bring into the world. And this project, it's not good, but it will get better in the future, and it will be the means by which I bring that into the world, and that makes me happy. So I'm happy today for shipping this project. I deserve to recognize the work that I have done in myself, and through that celebrate what I have done, where I am at, and where I'm moving towards. That I don't really understand it yet, I don't really know it yet, but it will be something important, and I want to embrace that. I want to celebrate myself, and I want to continue doing the work because it's important to do it. I want to learn more and more.